When my kids and I went to Europe for 6 weeks to help the people displaced by the war in Ukraine, we found that most of the millions of people currently displaced in Poland are women and children. We had a policy not to post photos or videos online of people who had become refugees because of the war. However, one woman that we met asked that we share her story with the world. Her name is Ananda, and I recorded some video for her that she asked that I share. Ananda's entire family was killed by Russian soldiers, and she alone survived. Before the war, Ananda was a film producer, and she had her own studio attached to her house in a small town northeast of Kyiv, not far from the Russian border. When the Russians invaded back in 2014 in eastern Ukraine, a young woman named Irina was living in the city of Luhansk with her husband and 3-year-old daughter. And when the Russians bombed their house, Irina was pinned underneath the wooden pillar of her porch, and it severed her spinal cord, paralyzing her from the waist down. And she watched as her husband and daughter died, and she was unable to help them. Irina eventually made her way to Ananda's town, where she was begging out in front of a church for money. And the town drunks there, also in front of the church, asked Ananda to take Irina away because obviously people would rather give Irina money than the alcoholics. So when the Russians attacked Ananda's town, Ananda had already moved 7 of her family members into her own house because they had fled from closer to the Russian border. And Ananda and Irina went to go stay in Ananda's mom's apartment. They put Irina in the bathtub because it was made out of cast iron, thinking that that would protect her from bullets and shrapnel. Ananda would go to the river in order to get water because the water supply had been cut off. And staying with her mom and Irina in her mom's apartment, they went 8 days without food, and Ananda went searching through garbage cans to find scraps of food. And then Ananda received word that her house had been bombed by the Russians, and she went to go and see what was left. She found 3 of the 7 bodies of her relatives, but they were charred by fire beyond all recognition. She could not tell who the bodies belonged to. And then on March 14th of 2022, when she went out to get some water from the river, she took some shrapnel in her right ankle. She had her leg operated on the same day without anesthesia. Then in early April, Russian soldiers came to her mom's apartment and shot her mom in the head. When Ananda found her mom, she said about 3/4 of her skull was missing, and her brain had been splattered on the walls and floor. One of Ananda's 4 small dogs also had its leg broken. She can only speculate that the Russian soldiers kicked the dog. Unfortunately, Ananda found Irina still alive in the bathtub. For 3 days, Ananda and Irina had her mom's body in the apartment, and Ananda scrubbed the walls and floors, cleaning off the brains and blood so that it wouldn't begin to stink, until they were finally able to have the body moved to a mass grave. Irina wound up getting evacuated through Moldova and eventually wound up in Israel. Ananda managed to get onto a bus bound for Kyiv with her 4 small dogs, and she sat on the floor to avoid getting hit by bullets and shrapnel. From Kyiv, she took a 10-hour bus drive to the Polish border, where she was able to limp across the border on foot. She said she was embarrassed when volunteers went to examine her leg because of the shrapnel wound, because her legs were so blackened with dried mud. For a few weeks, Ananda was able to stay with her Polish accountant outside the city of Krakow, Poland, but it was an undue burden on her accountant and friend because her family only had one car, and it was very difficult being in a rural setting to take Ananda to the doctor and back. So eventually Ananda wound up in one of the many refugee centers in Krakow, Poland, where we met her. That center was shut down while we were there, and Ananda was again displaced. This is a picture of Ananda and her mother. This is the tiny room where Ananda was fortunate enough to have to herself because she had 4 small dogs in the refugee center, which was an old abandoned mall that had closed due to COVID that they had converted into a refugee center. At its height, it was housing around 600 refugees. So I can't really do Ananda's story justice, but I'll include Ananda's email address in the description below. This way, anyone who wishes to contact Ananda and have her tell them her story, you can contact her directly. Sadly, Ananda's story is not unique. There are millions of people displaced by this war. And my kids and I, when we were helping in Poland, we heard many accounts of family members being killed, like Ananda's, when we were there in Europe. I want to encourage everyone here in the West to do what we can to help the people of Ukraine. As I've mentioned in a previous YouTube video, we have been refraining from posting videos or pictures of Ukrainians who have been displaced by the war. However, my friend here would like to tell her story to the world. She approached me and asked me to interview her so that she could tell her experience of what happened to her in Ukraine.
Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья, меня зовут Ананда, я кинопроизводитель.
Hi, dear friends. My name is Ananda. I'm a filmmaker from Ukraine. I used to film documentary fiction movies. Currently, I am at the Polish refugee point. I am the person who got away from Russian aggression. I'd like to start this speech with the appeal to American people, to people who live in America, to people who are not indifferent to Russian aggression, which is on the territory of Ukraine, to people who are against this aggression and who don't want this aggression. I'm appealing to you to help me make a fiction movie based on real events about Russian aggression. I am the person who miraculously survived. My mother and my entire family were killed. All of my relatives. I only have my 4 dogs that I took to Poland with me. I also was injured by a bomb blast. I want to make a movie that will be seen by the whole world. It will be based on the real events. I want to share my own story in this movie about how we were saved, how we lived, how brutally can Russian aggressors treat people, how they killed and destroyed people. We didn't have any light and water. We would drink from the river, and when we approached it, we were being shelled. At that time, I got injured. Russian aggressors wouldn't even let people drink. There is nothing about peace, love, and brotherly people. They are just beasts. I am saying this directly. They are beasts who came to kill us because they want Ukrainian land. And my response to these people, to Russian aggressors, will be in this movie that the entire world will see. It will tell how people lived in the times of Russian aggression and how they tried to survive. How some people risked their lives, taken injured out of the shelling. Saving me, saving 2 more women who were with me. One of them was disabled. Now she is in Germany, the other one is in Israel. This is real. These people are real, and I am real. I am asking you, dear friends, to help me with this project. If you can, please help me with resources and funds. Others, help with your good attitude towards me, with your support. If you have connections with the film industry, please contact me and I will be happy to meet you. It will be our contribution to this movie, which will openly say who is Russian and why they are unwanted in the world. Thank you a lot, my dear friends. My email will be under this video, so you will be able to contact me.